I'm Wendell.
And I'm Patrick.
And
This is
Yes,
But Why?
Podcast.
Ginger floating around in there. That's good.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, weird.
Well, there wasn't that one. Yeah, there it is.
It's like Goldschlager.
Only much better for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I don't know. Goldschlager's pretty great. Then you have gold in your body.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
First time I got violently ill on drinking was from Goldschlager. So it's from Goldschlager, and you know the joke I've told people is that I woke up the next morning full of Nazi bouillon. But what really happened was I woke up the next morning and I was just, or next afternoon, I was horribly hungover. Just felt awful. I was like, I need food. I need something in my stomach. I was like, this is just ridiculous. I go to the kitchen, whatever. Like, get some cereal, open the box, throw some cereal in my mouth, and it's Cinnamon Life. And I was just like, God, no. It's like, I don't want this flavor in my mouth. What have I done?
Oh, my God. And you never ate Cinnamon Life again?
No, I don't know that I have, to be honest.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I can't think of a food that I've ruined for me because of alcohol.
Well,
For like a month or two, yeah, there's a lot of things where I've regretted experiencing it either during drinking or right after.
Yep.
But I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
You have a solid food group that you enjoy?
I mean, just everything.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Everything group. It's good. Gotta get
Yeah.
a lot
You
of
don't
that.
have any things that you're like, I don't eat those foods?
No. I mean, like, I'm not even in love with, like, kimchi, but I still eat it. You know, like, I'm not like, I gotta have kimchi, but every now and then I'm just like, kimchi sounds good, let's do it.
I didn't like kimchi until I actually visited South Korea. I was like, all right, I have to eat kimchi in South Korea, and then I learned to like it.
Oh, sure, but I mean, you know, when you eat something made by the people who
Yeah.
make it for real, like,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
solid.
Yeah.
I guess
When
I
did you
gotta
go to South Korea?
2014, did a 2.5 week Asia improv tour thing.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
We started in Hong Kong, then we went to, I think it was Hong Kong, Seoul, then Osaka and Tokyo.
Whoa. How was that?
Crazy, exhausting. Especially once we hit Japan, we were just run ragged, and performed a bunch of shows, and it wasn't even my troupe. It was just sort of like this ad hoc group that was put together to do it, and so we did a bunch of shows, and then taught a bunch of workshops, some of which were taught through a translator. So like I taught a beginning improv workshop on a Sunday morning in Seoul to like 6 Koreans through a translator. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I taught then I taught some scene study, sort of not intense, but a little bit deeper dive scene study, a workshop in Japan to Japanese improvisers through a translator. So I'd tell them a technique or something we were going to work on, and they'd do a scene, and I'd have to kind of just judge their facial expressions, then turn to the translator and be like, I think this is what just happened. Is that what happened? Like, yep. Like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
So it was...
Wow.
It was great. It was super
Holding
surreal,
something
though.
up,
Yeah, scene work. I forget the other half. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you have to say stuff,
Yeah.
but
It's like,
then they're saying it in Japanese.
There's no giving notes in the middle of a scene, because... I mean, but I could tell them, you know, based on the emotion that was happening, I could basically tell them to come together or go apart. It's like, you know, I get them to engage each other, but I couldn't give very specific notes. But
Yeah.
it was still an interesting challenge.
Wow, that is wild.
I kind of want, the live UN translator just in your ear the
Right?
entire time.
Yeah,
it's
that would be
going.
amazing,
Yeah.
right? With a bit of a lag again. And then I performed Maestro, which is a Johnstone short form show that we do at the Hideout, but I performed that in Tokyo. I was the only English speaker, or the only non-Japanese speaker in the cast. So it's a competitive show where the audience scores you, and then the person with the most points at the end wins. And I won Maestro in Japan, probably because I was getting pity points for having no idea what was happening and still not caring and not letting it throw me. That was pretty great.
So everyone else
Wow.
is performing in Japanese?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Performing in Japanese to a Japanese audience. I mean,
that's cool.
the understanding of English is pretty universal. So we're lucky as Americans traveling anywhere. Chances are someone knows some English. and we just get to never learn anything new. So it's great.
So, like, they thought... I'm just imagining them knowing what you're saying, but they hear other things.
Right.
So to them, it was extra funny.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're having a
Super
scene
weird.
about, like, you know, The Office, and you're like,
Yeah.
pancakes are delicious.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're like, hilarious.
Luckily, I didn't make any huge. There weren't any big confusions like that, and also I'm a very physical player anyway, I enjoy playing slower and more patient and with facial expression. So I think I was able to kind of roll with it, and like the few Japanese words that I would pick up and realize what was happening, I could just kind of spit back and. Yeah, and the moment that really blew me away is I remember at the very end of the show, it came down to me and one other person, and they made us do solo scenes. And there was someone in the cast who was an expat who was half Japanese and half American, so he would come behind my head and whisper like what the scene setup was and what the instruction was before a scene would start. Like he totally had my back. So the instruction was they wanted each of us to replay a movie in like 2 minutes, and they let the Japanese player go first, and they gave the audience suggestion was Seven Samurai, and I'm a huge Kurosawa fan. I directed a samurai improv show. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna watch a Japanese improviser do their version of quick Kurosawa. This is incredible. And I'm standing in the wings, and I'm watching it. As I'm watching it, not understanding what he's saying, but I'm watching him like play through Seven Samurai, and it dawns on me like he's never seen Seven Samurai. He doesn't know what's in this movie. Oh, this is amazing. This is like my mind was just like going a mile a minute. And then they picked like the most stereotypical American movie they could think of, which was Casablanca, and they said, all right, do Casablanca in 2 minutes. So I got to play a bunch of stupid characters, and it was fun. It was ridiculous.
Oh man, I was really hoping you were going to get to do Seven Samurai
and
then just slay him by actually knowing everything.
It was a very surreal experience, though, of being like the only non-Japanese speaker watching a Japanese audience suggest a very like revered Japanese film, and then the Japanese player had no idea what it was. Like, oh right, just like in America, the people are like, I've never seen Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Important movies, nah. You know. So it was a very interesting experience for many reasons.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, so fun.
I had so many thoughts when you said the most American movie ever. I was like, Titanic? Like, what?
Yeah.
Is,
It was like American Pie.
What?
Like, what year was this?
This
again?
is a new game I'm going to play with people.
Yeah, right. Well, I
What's the
suppose
most
it
American
was
movie?
it was, you know, once they gave him Seven Samurai, I was like, well, what would be the
Right.
the American
Yeah, it's
film
classic,
analog? I guess maybe Gone with the Wind, which I've never seen,
Oh.
so I would have messed that up. But I have a penchant for noir and old 40s black and white films. So when they were like, when they suggested Casablanca, I was like, oh, give me, yes, please. You won't know what I'm saying. I'm going to talk a mile a minute and do all the voices. It's going to be great.
They're right on board.
There's a
funny.
musician, so like
Oh, wow.
I tried to get them to play like the famous song from Casablanca just so I could sing it, and it almost worked. It was fun. It was, and I was sleep deprived, and I was jet lagged, and it was great.
It's an incredible adventure.
Yeah.
I would be sad if it were Gone with the Wind. I'll be honest, I saw Gone with the Wind maybe like 2 years ago or something, but the only thing I knew previous to that was like the Carol Burnett spoof from her show, you know? It's like, that's what I know. That's what I understand. I'm like, so there's a woman and she wears a drape as a dress, right? That's what it's about?
That's the whole movie.
Yeah.
She's in love with a guy and he's like really into upholstery, right? Isn't that what the whole movie's about?
I think that's it. You nailed
Oh
it.
my god. What's funny too is you watch those kind of old movies that people tell you like, oh, this is the most important movie you ever have to see. And I feel like if it gets too amped up,
Yeah.
then you're just like, what? Like I watched it and so many people will be like, she's like the best female hero in a movie. I watched it, I was like, I hate her.
Yeah.
She's the worst.
I think if something's hyped up, especially if it's 80 years old, which it is almost actually 80 years old, if so much has
There's no more.
changed. It's just like the tone and the pacing of everything we've watched our whole lives is so different that it's hard to it's hard to live up to the hype.
Especially like seeing Citizen Kane for the first time.
Yeah.
It was talked up as technically a great film.
Sure.
Like a lot of things changed in film but
we've watched the things that have changed.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like when you watch it, like, okay, cool.
Cool.
I'm glad I've seen this 90 times.
Right.
Because it influenced everyone and their mom who makes film now. But
it's
it didn't have the impact it had on the people who are watching it. So,
yeah. It's hard to get that perspective, right?
Yeah, when you're way past the spot of being inspired.
Yeah.
It's like, it inspired the people who inspired you, who inspired...
Right.
You're inspiring people
At this
in the
point,
future.
it's just it's a given. It's not even a thing you think about. Right?
Yeah.
It was like Mental Note, Citizen Kane.
Never seen. It's good. It's good movie.
I was like, I know everything about it. It's like
that's
you know,
it's one of those classic films that's been spoiled by virtue of being classic film with the twist ending or whatever.
well, all the different details of it too, of like how it got inspired and where it got started and how he got involved in it. It was like, oh, okay. Even just like speaking of Carol Burnett, I recently read a book that she put out about, like, it was her, like, memories over the years and different things like that, talking about how she got involved and how she, like, started in theater in New York and then eventually, like, got her show just from doing a variety show, like, at some cabaret bar in New York. And it's
So
like...
cool.
And she, like, openly admits in the book, like, it's like, this would never happen. Like, I'm sad now that there aren't people who are out there doing this kind of thing that'll get a show like I got. Because... I just happened to meet the right person, and this kind of show was a thing they wanted to do.
Yeah, it's all been not commoditized, but it's like people know what the formula or the path is to a certain extent. Because even now, I was thinking as you were saying, that's like, well, we kind of have that now. Like, so much has come out of UCB in New York. But even then, it's like the pathway is you go and do your stand-up special, or you go and get your 6-episode Netflix series that's probably about relationships and being in Brooklyn and when you're 28 and wanting tacos. You know, it's like that. It's like those are the two paths from UCB now. Apparently,
there should be just one section in Netflix called that. 20s in Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn love story with tacos. Oh, sweet. Which one?
Oh, great. Which annoying duo of actors is in this one? It's really hard, too, because I actually realized the other day that I have a really hard time, like, identifying with characters in their 20s at this point. So, like, I'll watch a show, like, for instance, everyone's going to hate me. I'm sorry, audience. You know the show Love that's out there that's on Netflix? I hate that show.
You mean the show about the two worst people ever?
Yeah, pretty much. When the season 2 came out, I was like, reject.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, hide from view. Because I just was like, no.
I have a strange... not fascination. It's the only thing I have legitimately hate-watched.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the whole first season to be like, okay, how
I watched
much?
the whole second season to confirm that I hated both characters equally.
No.
So, yeah, I don't understand it.
Thank you, because I don't want to watch it.
But I think for that it might be brilliant because because it's I see aspects, so many like personality flaws and aspects of, you know, and like she is an amalgamation of my exes, and I've heard that from so many people. They're like, yeah, that's all the stuff that my exes have done, and people, it's like, so they must be doing something right with the writing where it's striking people. Where you're basically just watching it and just dragging a knife across your arm, slowly cutting yourself. Just going, oh, why are they doing that again?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I get that sometimes that's the whole point of a show.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows ever is a show where the character just is never going to do well. Nurse Jackie.
Yeah.
I watched it. It's about a nurse who just has some troubles and pretty much never gets over those troubles.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't watched it, even though it ended 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But... And up until the last episode, there were like 7 seasons or something on Showtime. And I only watched it when it went to Netflix. So my husband and I just binged the whole thing.
Yeah.
But she's one of those characters where every single episode you're like, come on!
Yeah.
What do you do? Oh, not again! Or she like almost learns a lesson. You're like, maybe it's gonna win. Oh, she's not figuring it out. Like, it just constantly over and over she fails and fails. And like when we get to the end of every season, I get all mad and I have a little tantrum in the house. And my husband goes like, you know that's how they have to write it. Like, the show wouldn't end. It would be over if she was like, oh, I've learned my lesson. Like, what would happen in the show? The whole point of the show is she fucks it up. That's the whole thing. So, like, you being frustrated is the point of that show. And I was like,
Why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves?